Hey, time for our day 10 debrief. So they had the big fire at the church, right? And so Pony and Dally are okay. Johnny is hurt. But we get this really interesting conversation between Ponyboy and Jerry. Now, earlier, Ponyboy had that long talk with Cherry, and he's like, gosh, I've never told anybody all these things. We really connected. And here, suddenly, he's having a similar conversation with this guy that he barely met, has very little in common with, but somehow maybe it's because he's recovering. I don't know, but Jerry just seems trustworthy, and Ponyboy tells him the whole story. It's kind of funny. He doesn't even understand the whole idea of greaser and hoods. He thinks Ponyboy and Johnny are heroes, which is a real twist, isn't it? And you later get the reporters, oh, we want to take pictures of you. You're heroes. And this is a really odd place for greasers to be in. They're not the kind of guys who get their picture in the paper for good reasons. But of course, the main thing, the very centerpiece of our section here today, was that moment when Ponyboy sees Derry and at first, thinks, oh, Derry doesn't care. And then has that moment where he realizes Derry does care and he cares so much. And suddenly he's replaying all the things that Soda said, all the things Two-Bit said, all the things Johnny said. Everybody tried to tell him, and he kept telling himself, no, they're wrong. We've used the term sometimes, the undependable narrator. We couldn't believe it was true just because our narrator said so, because he's just a person and he has his own perceptions and his own biases, and he's able to translate. I think that was just fantastic. He realizes when Derry says something that sounds mean, he's really saying, I love you so much and I want to protect you. It would kill me if something happened to you. And he's able to make that jump. I, maybe you've had misunderstandings with people. Maybe you have a brother or sister that annoys you, or another person in your life, especially family. It does help sometimes to try to translate. When your parents get on your case, instead of hearing, you're such a problem, hearing, we want so much for you. We want you to do well. We expect a lot from you, and hearing the love and the care instead of the anger and frustration. We can all work on that, can't we? But what a great breakthrough. It's such a relief to see that conflict resolved that had been kind of hanging in the background throughout the story and clearly caused some serious issues because Pony ran out after he and Derry had that little fight. Snuck in there is that little thing where Jerry's like, you really shouldn't be smoking, what, why? And just this very huge cultural gap where Jerry understands that smoking is for grown-ups. And in the 60s, almost everybody smoked. It was very common. And being able to get cigarettes was very easy. You could send your kids to the store to get cigarettes for you. You can't do that today. But it was a little strange for a young teenager to already be smoking, and that kind of threw Jerry off. And here Ponyboy's thinking, what? He started when he was 9. He started when he was 11. What's the big deal? Culture. And so finally gets out of the hospital. He's exhausted. Soda's exhausted. Derry's exhausted. And they're going home. And of course, that's wonderful. But I think it's really interesting that, on page 99, that moment when he reconnected with Derry and kind of restored that relationship, he already felt home. Did you catch that? And so it's just an interesting thought about what's the idea of home? Is it a place? Is it a house? Is it your room? We get attached to places, but what makes it home? What is home? It's where your people are, the people who love you and where you belong, more so than a building, more so than a room. So he felt home the moment he reconnected with his brother, and then got to go home and finally sleep in a bed after being on the concrete floor of that abandoned church for the whole week. Some heartwarming stuff, but lurking in the background is this really upsetting news about Johnny and not being sure how that's going to turn out. So we'll see how this story progresses. Are they heroes or are they villains? Uh, is it a jail or juvenile detention? Does the family get broken up because Ponyboy was in trouble? There's still a lot of things hovering. And then, of course, even beyond those immediate problems is the Soch versus Grease war. How is it all going to come out? And I'm still curious about how Cherry's spying is going to play out. So we'll see. I'll see you in our next time.